We're joined by Professor Joe Elliot from the School of Education, Durham University, to talk about withitness. So Julian, what exactly is withitness?
Well, withitness has two elements involved. Firstly, it's about the teacher being wholly aware of everything that's going on in the classroom all of the time. Sometimes the metaphors used is like a lighthouse beam that's going round and round and round, continually scanning, continually aware of everything that's taking place. But that's no use if the teacher doesn't convey to the children that awareness. So the second part of withitness is the teacher's ability to signal to all the children in the class that they're aware of everything that's taking place within that environment, that there's nothing that's missed, nothing that they don't see, nothing that they don't perceive.
Why is it so important then?
Well, one of the important skills of the teacher is preventing problems from occurring in the first place. So the great teachers are people who somehow manage to get classrooms where there are fewer problems, where they don't have to keep reacting to misbehaviour. And what withitness does is that it helps to prevent problems from occurring in the first place. Now at the most fundamental level, imagine a child, it pulls out a pen, takes the inside of the pen out, gets a bit of rice, and they're going to put it inside the pen and fire it around the classroom, as we've all had hundreds of experiences of that. So if the teacher's aware of what's happening, can see what's going on, sees the child engaging in this kind of behaviour, they can nip it in the bud. Before the behaviour kicks off, they can bring this behaviour down, they can stop it from taking place, they can send messages to the child to get back on task, or whatever. But there's something more subtle than simply preventing problems occurring in the first place. But actually, it's not simply that withitness is a means of stopping events that you can see that's going to take place any moment. It's also a more subtle message that's sent about the awareness and the professional expertise of the teacher. Let me give you an example of a very subtle kind of situation, which seems meaningless in essence, but actually is very important. So I want you to imagine a classroom where there's a teacher walking around the room, and they stop and they engage with one or two children in the desk, and they're focusing upon these youngsters. At the back of the classroom, another youngster gets up, walks past, they're going to sharpen their pencil. So they're coming past you, they go along over to the corner, and they're sharpening their pencil in the bin. The teacher's engrossed in the work with a small group. So once this child's moved past their peripheral range of vision and gone beyond their gaze, there's almost as if this child no longer exists. It's as if they're not there. They'll only be brought back into conscious mind if the child were to walk back or then to cause a disturbance. Now imagine a scenario where the child's over there, they sharpen their pencil and they start looking around the room, start pulling funny faces, making noises or dancing or whatever. Children in the classroom look up, they see this, they start laughing, they're joking or pointing. Teacher becomes aware of it at this point. Teacher looks up, looks around the classroom, can see where the eye gaze is over in the corner. Teacher turns around, sees the child misbehaving or clowning around in the corner. Teacher calls the child over. James, can you come over here a minute, please? You've been there quite long enough, I think. So the child comes over back towards the teacher, and the teacher says, come on, sit down and get on with your work and stop messing about. The child then goes back to their seat, sits down, gets on with their work. Carry on. Now I want you to imagine a similar scenario. Teacher working with a group of kids, child gets up, comes through along the classroom, walks past, but this time it's different. This time, as that child walks past and goes in the corner, this teacher is aware that they're there. There is a form of multitasking in a sense. And you know, it's almost as if there's an egg timer in the teacher's mind, and it gets flipped upside down and the sand starts pouring down. They know how long that child's been there. So they're working with these kids for a while, and then they realise this child's been there a bit longer than they should be, so they turn around, they look at the youngster, and preferably don't say anything, but they preferably call them across with a gesture or eye contact, just nod them across. And the child comes over in a low voice and says, I think you've been at the bin quite long enough, James, can you go and sit down, please? Thank you. Child goes across, sits down, carries on with their work, and everything ticks over. Now, to the untrained eye, you might say, well, what's the difference? In both cases, the kid stays too long. In both cases, the teacher intervenes. In both cases, the kid comes back and sits down and gets on with their work. So what's the difference? Well, the difference is in the first scenario, the teacher's reacting. The teacher's oblivious to what's going on in their classroom, unaware of events. And it only reacts when there's a disturbance. In the second scenario, it's quite clear to all that this teacher is wholly aware of what's going on in the classroom. It's a sense that, in a sense, it's a form of professional expertise to be able to show this awareness. So what people need to understand as far as withitness is concerned is not simply nipping the act in the bud. It's not simply preventing some kind of disturbance from taking place. It's the signalling to the children about one's awareness of the classroom environment. And it doesn't matter on one occasion or two occasions, but these kinds of events take place constantly throughout the day, hundreds and hundreds of times. And over a period of time, these hundreds and hundreds of events begin to conjure a picture of this teacher as someone who is wholly expert in their performance, or someone who's not quite aware of what's going on, and that will influence the children's subsequent behaviour to quite a large extent, when it's associated with a number of other forms of teacher skill, which we're not going to address here. We're just talking about withitness.
Is this a widespread problem?
I think you might be surprised how widespread it can be. Not only in novice teachers, where of course with beginning teachers you would see this more frequently, but often in classrooms of quite experienced people you will see teachers who aren't fully aware of things going on in the room. When I visited classrooms in the past, I was always aware of the fact that some teachers, when they began to talk to me, shut everything off around them and gave me 100% of attention and focus. And that made me a little bit nervous, because if they're doing that, who's watching what's going on outside? I always felt much happier when I felt they were talking to me, listening to what I was saying, but simultaneously they're casting their eyes around the room, they're listening, they're aware, they're sensitive to all the environmental cues. But what I will say is this: virtually every time I've been into a classroom where there are teachers having significant difficulties with behaviour, almost invariably you will see a lack of withitness on the part of that teacher, for various reasons, which we'll probably talk about in a moment.
So is this simply because they don't know that it's an important skill?
Well, I think there are some people who aren't aware of the importance of withitness, who just don't realise that this is a crucial teacher's skill. Sometimes they may not have come across it in the training courses, or they may have done and they may not have taken it on, or they may have forgotten about it. But I think there are other reasons really why we see this so frequently as a problem, other than simply not knowing about it.